Khoi and San leaders today welcome a ruling by a full bench of the Cape High Court delivered on Tuesday, 8 November 2022, which rescinded an earlier order that's in March 2022 by Deputy Judge President Patricia Goliath that interdicted the River Club development in Observatory, Cape Town. The development, where a world-class First Nations precinct is to be constructed, has been welcomed by the overwhelming majority of legitimate Khoi and Bushman leaders and structures. It has been opposed by the elitist Observatory Civic Association, represented by UCT Professor Leslie London. London acted in concert with rogue Indigenous leaders led by one Tariq Jenkins, which the court found had fraudulently represented himself and falsely associated legitimate leaders with his campaign to prevent the development at the site. The First Nations Collective, with the developer, the Lisbic Leisure Properties Trust, and provincial and city authorities that approved the development, petitioned the Supreme Court of Appeal for leave to appeal Deputy Judge President Goliath's order, and the court subsequently directed that the appeal should be heard by a full bench of the Cape High Court. The court also heard a rescission application by elders of the Gornaikona Khoi Indigenous Traditional Council, who claimed that Jenkins had no right to bring an interdict application on their behalf and that he had usurped their authority by replacing their constitution with one he and others had manufactured, that stopped the development of the 4.6 billion rand River Club development has been rescinded. This is because it was obtained, as the court stated, through fraud. Judges Elizabeth Bartman, Hayley Slingers, and James Lekuleni ruled on Tuesday that Tariq Jenkins, who purported to act on behalf of the indigenous Gornaikona Khoi Indigenous Traditional Council in an interdict application, which was decided by Deputy Judge President Goliath, quote, was determined to stop the development at all costs. Critical in arriving at the decision, which severely criticized the conduct of Jenkins, the court interrogated his evidence before Deputy Judge President Goliath, quote, notably that he had consulted with iconic Bushman leader Elder Petrus Falboy, whom, quote, he stated under oath was opposed to the development. The court held that Petrus Falboy's affidavit revealing perjury by Jenkins stood uncontested when he stated, quote, in paragraph 78 of the said affidavit, Tariq Jenkins alleged that I opposed the proposed development of the River Club, which is a complete falsehood. I categorically deny that I have ever spoken to Tariq Jenkins. I don't know who this person is, and I have never met him. Any averments that I oppose the River Club development lacks merit and is a blatant lie. The court where this matter will be heard must not take kindly to such untruthfulness that has been placed under oath. Our position in this regard, as the Western Cape First Nations Collective, is that we remain resolute in support of the development. Our view is that this development is the first of its kind world-class development that doesn't exist anywhere in South Africa or indeed in Southern Africa, that celebrates the culture, the heritage, the indigenous knowledge systems, the linguistic traditions, or any other facet of our cultural belongings that goes from time immemorial, when our forebears were the first custodians of this land, to the present time. We also remain resolute in the fact that those who have opposed us are not legitimate Khoi and San leaders. We also feel, and we bring to, as we have brought to the court's attention in our papers, that Tariq Jenkins is not an indigenous leader. He was a leader of the Observatory Civic Association, which had began the opposition to the River Club development. When they could not find their way through, a plan was hatched to infiltrate Tariq Jenkins into our ranks. They chose the most vulnerable of our chiefs, who had a frail medical condition, then usurped his power, manufactured a new constitution, and created a title never before seen in the history of the Khoi or Bushman people, that of a Supreme High Commissioner. That title, we feel, is more suited to a place such as North Korea, where Kim Il-sung has ruled, than to our indigenous people, which is an egalitarian, matrilineal, and matricentric society. Furthermore, our position is that there are many blatant lies in the evidence that Jenkins had proffered to the courts. One, that he had the support of Queen Katrina Iso, one of the greatest custodians of our ancient Ngu linguistic traditions. What in fact is on affidavit from the First Nations Collective is that Tariq had arrived unannounced in Uppington and attempted to berate Queen Iso for 4 hours in an attempt to get her to sign an affidavit which he had prepared in Cape Town before arriving in Uppington. We feel this shows the disrespect. Also, furthermore, Jenkins claims that he did not get an opportunity to present his case before court. What is the truth is that Jenkins had 3 months to prepare his case before court. And in fact, on the day that he presented an unsigned version of his affidavit, a few hours before the court began, and 1,500 pages of evidence, which everybody was supposed to read, to speed read in a few hours, what is clear from the ruling by Judge Bartman is that Jenkins not only disrespected our people, but he also disrespected the court, in that he had, at many occasions, more than 3 occasions, made declarations that he would present his documents to court timeously, and every time he failed. In fact, on the day that his affidavit is dated, the affidavit that the court did not accept, he was on social media presenting a very long soliloquy decrying everybody who is a legitimate leader of Khoi and Bushman people in this country. We now feel the way forward is the following. 1, the Western Cape First Nations Collective and the First Nations Collective nationally want to present a full and cohesive picture of who we are. We are represented by all our people, including the Institute for the Restoration of Aboriginal South Africans, the Khoi Cultural Heritage Development Council, the National Khoi San Council, the United Griqua Royal Houses, the House of Inke, which is the house of Oma Queen Katrina Iso, the San Bushman led by the iconic Petrus Valboy, who is the legitimate successor to the iconic and legendary David Kruiper. The entire Korana universe, represented by the Kutch Korana Royal House, and on affidavit from its newly inaugurated Queen, Queen Shamida Katz. We also have the affidavit of Kubaha Hector Katz, who is the successor to the dearly departed Kubaha Katz Davids, who was the head of the Kai Korana royal house. In addition to that, we have the Nama royal house of King Lynx. We also have now clearly an affidavit from Lifi Prince Lifi, which states very clearly that the Ubiquat Kam are not part of the opposition. They are part of the First Nations collective. We have an affidavit. We have numerous other affidavits, letters of support from a whole range of our structures, locally in the Western Cape and nationally. But beyond that, it must be very clearly stated that we collectively are one people. All branches of the Khoi and Bushman, the Bushman San, the Griqua, the Korana, the Nama, and the Cape Khoi, the Kwas, we are all united in our celebration of the fact that we've won a phenomenal victory. And that victory is to ensure that our people find anchorage, that our right of return to our place of dispossession is secured, a place where we will establish a world-class international heritage and cultural center, a place where we will rebuild our people, a place where we will, through our indigenous garden of memory, create our space of anchorage for who we are, a place where we will bring our people into their own, where our young people will be able to learn their histories and traditions. This has been done because a developer, and not the South African government, with whom we have been engaging for more than almost 30 years, a developer has heard our cry to be recognized, restituted, and restored. In this place, we have secured, which has been secured through exercising our internationally recognized right of indigenous cultural agency. We have, for the first time in the history of our people, secured a place which we control. We call on all authorities now to recognize and respect us. We as a nation have spoken. We refuse to be deterred by charlatans, by insignificant pieces of humanity, people who are the worst of what our nation can offer. In fact, people who are an affront to indigeneity. We call upon all authorities now to recognize those who are legitimate. We say here that this matter is not yet resolved because we have an arsenal of evidence to present in the review where, as the court called Tariq Jenkins a fraud, all his fellow travelers will also be exposed. We call on the University of Cape Town to sanction Professor Leslie London, who is the head of its public health department. And as the head of its public health department, he should uphold the oath that all people in the medical practice should uphold, which is under that code which says, first do no harm. We want to know, and a tribunal will have to establish whether Leslie London knew about the frail condition of the leader of the House that Tariq Jenkins infiltrated. 2, whether he knew that Tariq Jenkins had fraudulently manufactured a constitution of that House to facilitate his aim of taking and usurping the voice of the chief and that House, and then using it in his campaign to derail the River Club development. We say here very clearly now that we call upon UCT to review the role that Tariq Jenkins plays there, because otherwise UCT also stands accused of creating an enabling environment for a person that has been named by a judge a fraud, where 2 other judges have concurred. Finally, let us say that those who have stood with us, those who have absorbed all the punishment, those who have had to sustain insults from the likes of Jenkins and his fellow travelers, we say here that none of that will be left lying. Besides the fact that the Observatory Civic Association had to carry a phenomenal cost order as a result of its ill-fated exercise to stop the development. Very serious civil claims are to follow. What we promise here is that we are drawing up a portfolio of people that have attacked the integrity of the leaders of the First Nation collective who are seated here. In conclusion, let me say, we cannot ever look at this victory we have achieved in the courts by the ruling of Judge Bartman, Slingers, and Lekuleni without giving all praise and glory to Almighty God, without whom our cause, our case, our appointed task by history to expose the liars, the charlatans, those who have come like wolves in sheep's clothing. Only Almighty God has strengthened our hand, and by His grace, we have been delivered into the first victory. We now look forward to a victory at the review, which we are very prepared for. And then, all obstacles removed, we look forward to celebrating with our people in this country and with the world the first of its kind, world-class First Nations Heritage Precinct located in the River Club, where we will bring hope and a future to our people.
Thank you very much.